Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the next in the COTA Conversation series today. My name is Jackie May. I've recently joined the COTA team as the communications lead in the team, alongside our interim CEO, Gohar Yazdabadi, and our engagement and research officer, Luke Curtis. Also in our office, the lovely business and admin manager, Michelle Wolven, who's your point of contact when you get in touch with COTA New South Wales. My apologies this morning if you've received a few rogue emails from us. We've had a few gremlins in the system, but we're all good and ready to go. So I'd like to acknowledge the Wongal people of the Eora Nation, whose land I'm on today, and I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. I'd also like to pay my respects and welcome any First Nations people who are present with us today. It's great to have such a wide representation of people from across our state who've registered with us today, and they are currently on many of our First Nations people lands. So if you're new to COTA New South Wales, a reminder that the Council on the Ageing is an independent, not-for-profit organisation. We represent the rights and interests of people aged 50 years and older in New South Wales, and we're the recognised peak agency for older people. We work with our members, governments, politicians, policymakers, service providers and the media to ensure that the views of older people in New South Wales are heard and acted on. So if you're new to these webinars, we take some time to introduce the topic and our invited speakers before they talk to us in more detail. And of course, this webinar is being recorded. Just to let you know, it'll be available to view on our website in coming days, and there'll be a link available as well. So you're very welcome to send in your comments and questions. You need to use the Ask Question function, which is at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So don't be shy, and if we can't get to you today, you can email us on info@cotanewsouthwales.com.au. So our topic today is falls awareness and prevention, and I'm reminded of an anecdote a friend shared with me where he talked about, I went from saying I fell over to saying I had a fall. And that's what we're talking about today. I've been spending time at the Balmain Hospital casualty this week with a family member who had a minor fall, just to double check that everything was okay because they'd fallen on their arm. My son has also had his broken collarbone sorted out at that hospital after a football injury. These are the places that we go to check in with our health professionals and make sure that our falls don't cause us major issues going forward. So falls can happen to anyone, but they happen more often and tend to affect us more as we age. So that's the topic for today. How do we prevent falls happening? And how do we raise awareness about making spaces safer and more friendly for all of us going forward? So we've got some experts joining us who have the latest research and also their lived experience stories to share with us. So firstly, I'd like to say hi to Stephen. Stephen joins us from the New South Wales Falls Prevention and the Healthy Ageing Network with Neuroscience Research Australia. Stephen is a Falls Network Officer. Hi, Stephen. Also joining us today will be Lorraine Dunn. She's going to be joining us shortly in the webinar. Lorraine is a Newcastle and Hunter region fitness professional, and she's the provider of the new Active, Stronger, Better program, which is launching in Newcastle in the Hunter next week, and more on that program a bit later. And also joining us today is Alan. Welcome, Alan. Alan is a participant in the Active, Stronger, Better classes. He's going to talk to us about his experiences of staying active and fit and what he's doing about his healthy ageing and all the things that he's learning about that I'm sure are going to be very inspirational to all of us. So, Stephen, if I can begin with you, you're an accredited exercise physiologist. As I've mentioned, you're also a PhD candidate. You've had 10 years of experience as an exercise physiologist. And you've specialised in falls prevention and the management of osteoporosis, sarcopenia and frailty. So firstly, Stephen, what is sarcopenia?
So sarcopenia involves the loss of muscle mass, strength, and physical performance. It's associated with aging and, of course, both falls and fractures. So it's like I guess you could say it's like a muscle disease that is similar to what you experience with aging, but also a little bit different in increasing your falls and fracture risk.
Okay, so that's two words we should know: osteoporosis and sarcopenia.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
fantastic. So your background is as an exercise physiologist. Just remind us what they do again.
Yep. So exercise physiologists are, I guess, specialists in delivering exercise programs to help prevent or manage chronic conditions or diseases, as well as prevent I guess, the reoccurrence of injuries or events such as falls.
Great. And the Falls Prevention and Healthy Aging Network, it's been around for a while, hasn't it?
Yes, that's right. We just celebrated our 30-year anniversary last year. So yeah, it's been around for a while, and yeah, we've been gradually increasing our reach, hopefully, and building awareness for fall prevention and healthy aging.
Now we've had a question. How do you spell sarcopenia? It's Sarcopenia. Something
Yes.
to Google later on. Okay. So you're a falls prevention officer. You're also doing your PhD. You are literally living and breathing falls and what to do
Yeah.
about them.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So doing my PhD at the moment, just getting towards the end of that. So my research project was just looking at reactive balance training. So whether or not if we repeatedly slip and trip someone, if that can help to, I guess, teach people how to fall and prevent real world slips and trips.
Fantastic. Okay, so Stephen, you've got a bit of a presentation, short presentation for us. So
Yep.
I'll head over to you, and Luke in our COTA team is going to be helping you with the slides. So just let him know when you'd like to move on.
Yep, sure. Thanks for that. Okay, so yeah, so for my presentation, I thought I'd start off with just a bit of a background about the Fall Prevention and Healthy Aging Network, and then go into some of the research looking into falls in general and what we could do about falls. So next slide, please, Luke. Yep. So for the Fall Prevention and Healthy Aging Network, what we aim to do was to support practitioners improve the lives of older Australians through a variety of healthy aging initiatives, focusing on the prevention of falls and fall-related injuries. And we aim to do this by collaborating with experts in a variety of areas and different stakeholders. So this includes people such as researchers, policymakers, government, health practitioners, and the community service providers. Next slide, please. Yep, so as we mentioned before, the network started in 1993, so 31 years ago now, and was the brainchild of a geriatrician, Dr. John Ward, as well as a fall prevention researcher, Professor Stephen Lord. And what we've been doing is we've been gradually growing our network, aiming to develop the fall prevention programs for older people across the state, and review for research and implications for practice. Each year we hold an annual forum, and that's been going on for the last 10 years. This year it will be on June the 7th, and this is where we aim to bring together people from a diverse range of backgrounds, including people who work in hospitals, the community, as well as those in the general community to attend and provide updates on fall prevention research and how we can implement different programs. So we've been, like I mentioned, we've been steadily growing, and we currently work with the Clinical Excellence Commission, and we've broadened our scope into the area of healthy aging, as well as fall prevention. Next slide, please. So in terms of what we've been doing this month, like Jackie mentioned, is April Fool's month. And what we aim to do for this month is to encourage people to get physically and socially active in a safe environment by raising awareness about the impact of falls and encouraging people to improve their or increase their activity and balance for fall prevention. We've just got a QR code which links to the resources that we have available. And in terms of exercise, which we'll discuss a little in more detail a little bit later, we know that exercise can reduce the rate of falls by up to 23%, provided specific components are present, including a high degree of challenge. Next slide, please. So this is a brief overview of the resources that we have available for the April Falls campaign. So there are resources for residential aged care facilities, hospital, as well as the general community. Next slide, please. And we do have guides for the general community, which includes information about exercises, healthy eating, as well as a challenge for the April Fool month. Next slide, please. And okay, so I'll spend the rest of the talk just going through the information about falls, what we know and what we can do about that. So as we mentioned, there is a large personal cost to falling. We know that 1/3 of older adults experience a fall each year, and that falls are the leading cause of hospitalized injury, as well as injury-related death in Australia. Over 30% of people who do fall end up having an injury which requires medical attention. And 10 to 15% of these are serious injuries, including things such as fractures. So in the particular case of fractures, we know that there can be a significant cause of disability and loss of quality of life in older adults. So the statistics suggest that 50% of people who end up with a hip fracture are discharged to nursing homes. 25% never regain their pre-fracture mobility, and 25% die within the 12 months following the hip fracture. And then we also know that falls can be a significant cause for the concern or fear of falling, with the prevalence being around 20 to 80% in older people. And the presence of fear of falling can lead to a 3 times greater loss in the engagement in activities of daily living, as well as community programs and exercises. Next slide, please. So if we look at the mechanisms for falls in the community, we know that the majority of falls occur when people are mobile, so moving around, with trips being the leading cause of falls in older people. This is followed by a loss of balance and slips. And we can see, I guess, if you look at the overall amount, slips, trips, and the loss of balance account for almost 3/4 of the falls experienced by older people. And this is where a lot of the research has been targeted to try and improve or prevent falls in older people. Next slide, please. And as you can see in this slide, there are a diverse range of risk factors for falls. So falls can occur through a variety of means, including the medical conditions such as stroke, Parkinson's disease, and dementia. The psychosocial and demographic features of the older person can also increase the risk of falls. We know that with increasing age, people are more likely to fall over. With a falls history is the greatest predictor for future falls. And then things like depression, living alone, limitations in activities of daily living, being female gender, and inactivity can increase the risk of falls as well. Environmental hazards include things which I guess you could quite easily address, such as the footwear, vision, hearing, and home hazards. And then we can look at things such as medications, and so polypharmacy, which is having or taking more than 4 medications, as well as sensorimotor and balance factors, including muscle weakness or sarcopenia, like we mentioned earlier, reaction time and impaired balance. So I guess in many cases, the exercise programs try to address this sensorimotor and balance component. Next slide, please. And if we look at exercise for fall prevention, we know that exercise is one of the most effective means for fall prevention. And like we mentioned before, there is a 23% reduction in the rate of falls with exercise. And this number came about by pulling together the findings from more than 100 research studies, which included more than 20,000 participants who were divided into an exercise or a control group. We also know that the balance, intensity, and dose are important. So as you can see on the image on the slide, if you're performing a balance exercise with a moderate to high challenge for over 3 hours a week, we can see that there's a 39% reduction in the rate of falls compared to a 10% reduction with balance exercises that provide a load challenge or are performed for less than 3 hours each week. So I guess if you look at the time, that could be a potential barrier. However, the idea is that you're doing as much activity as possible. And then I guess probably the key would also be to do exercises that challenge you and that, I guess, stimulate you to adapt to different scenarios as well. Next slide, please. So just a overview of the exercises which can be performed. So there are balance and functional exercises. So the functional exercise can be things such as a sit to stand from the chair or performing like an obstacle course. These have been shown to reduce the rate of falls and the number of people who fall, and can also prevent fall-related fractures. This, if combining with the resistance exercises, you can also achieve the best effects, given resistance training exercises have been shown to improve fall rates, but when completed by themselves, the effect is less clear. And then just to finish off with, Tai Chi has also been shown in research studies to reduce the amount of falls that people may experience. But like we mentioned, the key is the intensity as well as the dose. Next slide, please. And just a quick summary to finish off. So in terms of the fall prevention strategies, we know that exercise is effective. And individually tailored balance and functional exercises can be performed in the group or home setting. Voluntary and reactive step training is also effective. So voluntary training includes, for example, if you're doing an obstacle course, or if you're doing specific stepping exercises where you're working to improve, for example, how high you're able to step over objects, or navigating obstacles. And reactive step training, where you're actually responding to an actual event, that can also be effective. Occupational therapy is effective if there are environmental hazards, so that can work to improve the home safety. Multi-component and multifactorial interventions, addressing a number of different risk factors, are effective if they are present in older people. This can include addressing hearing, vision such as cataract, and medication use. And finally, for those who have a high risk of falls, the interventions may also need the supervision or assistance from trained health professionals, such as exercise physiologists or physiotherapists. And these can also be performed in a group or home environment. And that's all.
Thanks, Stephen. That's really interesting. So strength and balance are so important, and any level of exercise is better than none, is what you're saying.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
But yeah, if you're doing the exercises, they need to, I guess, be challenging. So that's the
Okay.
key.
And
Yeah.
there's a bit of a catch-22 in there for all of us, because moving around seems to be when you're more likely to fall over. But if you don't move around, you're not strong enough to be able to recover if you do happen to have a fall. Is that correct?
Yes, so I guess moving around is always beneficial. And then I guess if you're able to do that in a safe way, then you'll be able to manage the fall risk to be able to, I guess, perform those exercises.
And a quick question we've had from our people jumping on today is what age were the stats that you were talking related to? I think the 30% likely to have a fall is people over 65, but
Yes,
the
that's right.
cause of the falls, was there a specific age group there?
The cause of the falls, older people, so over 65 years.
Okay, great. All right, so if we're not yet 65, now's the time to put in all the good work. And if we
Yes.
are, we keep working on building our strength and maintaining our balance.
Yeah, that's right. So, especially for things such as muscle strength and power, what they've shown is that it can be lost starting from, for example, the age of 50s and onwards. So, I guess the earlier you're able to do exercises to prevent or manage the conditions, and the better it is.
Great. So again, knowledge is power, everyone, and we all need to have the confidence to keep moving. Thanks, Stephen. It's great to hear that Australian research is helping to build the evidence base on this. So I'd like to welcome now Lorraine Dunn. Hello, Lorraine. Thank you for joining us. I think Lorraine
Hello.
had a busy
Thank you for
morning
having
at
me.
Coalface. Lorraine has
Yes,
been
yes,
in the
yes,
fitness industry for, I think, 40 years. She's received some of the
yes.
highest industry honours, the Australian Fitness Industry Lifetime Achievement Award and Australian Fitness Professional of the Year. And Lorraine's been working closely with the Hunter Ageing Alliance to help secure the Active, Stronger, Better pilot program funding from New South Wales Health. Lorraine's also an Active, Stronger, Better provider, leading community classes, supporting the evaluation of the program. So again, making sure that everything we're doing is evidence-based and that we're putting the resources into the things that work. And I understand you're also a training facilitator. Now, Active, Stronger,
I am.
Better is having a launch in the Hunter next week, so we'll get to that shortly. But you're a bit of an all-round legend, Lorraine. What attracted you to this work and this particular aspect of staying fit and active as we age?
I've been in the fitness industry, as you said, about 40 years. I got in initially because I was an injured athlete, and I got into working with older people. And so from that time, my passion has been getting older people to move to exercise. And the anecdotal evidence has been around for years and years and years, and we need to have this this evidence, the evidence based now for the fitness industry to be recognised. So the Active, Stronger, Better program is linked to all of that, to actually get older people into evidence-based programs that we know are safe, effective, and appropriate.
Right. Okay. You've got some pretty inspirational clients. I'm going to get you to just tell me about one of them before we get a bit more into the program.
Yes.
Tell me about your 96-year-old client.
She is 96. She has been with me since I first started my classes. She still gets on the floor. She does planks, and she still drives a 4-wheel drive manual Jeep. She has heart conditions. She has vision and hearing conditions. She still has the conditions, and she still exercises.
So she's
amazing. And
how essential it is.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And she puts many of the younger of us to shame by the sound of it.
Well, she's our role model. She's our role model. It's about having people there who actually inspire you and inspire you to get out. You know, as we age, we actually do have conditions. We have conditions that hurt us and cause pain and concern, cause us to worry about having a fall. But in spite of that, we need to be exercising to counteract that.
Yeah, so the confidence that we talked about. Now, Lorraine, I think we
Yes.
have a short presentation that explains Active, Stronger, Better for us. Are you happy for us to go to that now?
Yes.
And you can let
Yes,
Luke
I
in our
am.
team
Yes, I
know
am.
when you're ready for the next slide. So over to you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. This is a little bit about the Active, Stronger, Better program. And this is the program, and it's a pilot project supported by New South Wales Health and by the Hunter Ageing Alliance. Hunter Ageing Alliance is an alliance formed in Newcastle by prominent leaders such as Dr. John Ward, who was the New South Wales National Senior of the Year this year. He's been an advocate for seniors exercise for so long, and we've been working together for many, many years with Deb towards promoting exercise. So Active, Stronger, Better. May I have the next slide, please? Luke. Okay, thank you. So we're in partnership with the Hunter Ageing Alliance. They actually provided the money, and they have now given it to or forwarded on to Novacare, who actually are managing this. And then we've got the people involved, such as Deb Moore, Natasha White, and other people that have put together this program. So next slide, please. That's acknowledging the partnerships that we've got. So I'm just going to move something. It won't be a minute. So what it does is provide exercise programs for older people in the community who are generally well, frail older people and people with particular health problems. It's an effective, safe place for older people to go to get the actual exercise that they need, and usually in a group setting, or it might be with the personal trainer. Next slide, please. So it brings together, it's a low to moderate exercise program that brings older people together, and it's delivered by trained fitness professionals, and usually it's people who really are passionate and dedicated to working with older people in the community. And it's a very satisfying, rewarding job for them, and it's a satisfying and rewarding place for the older people to go. It's safe, it's fun, they improve balance, they build their strength and their confidence. And most sessions are set to music with equipment, and people there work at their own pace. It might be that a couple come and one person has had a stroke, so they don't have the capacity possibly to work as what to the same intensity that the other person. So it's having the skills of the instructors to actually deliver programs that everyone walks away feeling great. They feel satisfied. They feel so happy that they've been there. They walk in and they say, I'm not feeling 100% today, but I wanted to come anyway. And then you can bet your bottom dollar at the end of that class, they will come up and say to you, thanks for that, I feel so much better. So it might be that they just sit and watch, and sometimes they do, and other times they really get into it. So may I have the next slide, please? I might talk while we're waiting for the next slide. And when people, another thing, they come along and they might say, I'm not feeling 100%, but I wanted to come. And on the flip side of that, you've got people who have got chronic conditions, and you really have to rein them in because they just want to work so hard. Anyway, I'll have the next slide, please. Can we have the next slide, please, Luke?
Thanks, Lorraine. You're doing a great job. We'll just get you that next slide happening.
Okay. So when that comes up, I'll change what I'm talking about. But following on from what the previous speaker was saying, it's creating an awareness for older people, an awareness of how they actually sit and stand, and creating awareness of what to do when they stand up. When you just stand up, just stop and get stable before you move on. And so in a program, in an Active, Stronger, Better program that the older person may go to, they get lots of instruction on incidental exercise such as walking around the house and just spending maybe listen to the radio or wireless, whatever we call it, being an older person, and just lifting your feet for the length of a song, and just spending that 3 minutes where you just focus on just lifting your feet a little bit higher. When you're getting up from the chair, just stand up steady and stable before you move on, not rushing to phone calls, getting your daily living activities, looking at them and looking at the way that you actually move. When you sit down, are you slouching? Can you sit up better? When you're sitting down to a meal, we sit down hopefully 3 times a day to a meal, doing 10 sit to stands or 5 sit to stands, and that's incidental exercise that you're doing. Okay, so what is next? Here we go. With the program, we've been rolling it out and we've been training instructors. So we're finalizing a report. All of the instructors, all of the people who attend the Active, Stronger, Better program, or most of them, have been tested on sit to stand, on walking for 6 minutes, on balance. And we're hoping that in another 6 months we will test them again, and then after that, firstly we'll finalize the report on the grant, and then we'll be doing the further testing. And what we hope to see is an improvement. So an improvement in exercise, in the statistics that we've been on the testing. But given that a lot of the people in the program, in the Active, Stronger, Better, have been exercising for a long time, so they may not show an improvement, but the benefit will be that they haven't regressed. If they haven't regressed, it means that they've maintained whatever strength and balance and aerobic capacity that they have, and being able to maintain that is a plus. I'll just tell you something. Recently, I had a bone density test, and it's about 4 years since I've had my last one. My bone density has improved, and that's, I was very happy with that. But that's just so getting back to Active, Stronger, Better. So we're going to finalize the deliveries and report for the early intervention project, and that includes the participant experience report. So, and then we're going to try and get more funding. So that's what's next for us. We're all really passionate about what we do. We're really dedicated to actually getting the word out there about this program. And also, one of the things, apart from the actual people who are coming to the classes, spreading the word, but also getting the clinicians, the doctors, the health professionals, the physios to actually create referrals. These programs they've been around, they are credible, the instructors are passionate, and if we can get the referrals across the board so that Active, Stronger, Better is the name on the clinicians' lips. Oh, you need to go to an Active, Stronger, Better. Here's one near you. And it is daunting for an older person to tackle something new, especially if they're on their own or they don't know anyone. But believe me, if they walk into a class, They'll be wrapped up in cotton wool. They will be nurtured. They will be looked after, and they'll become part of the group. And the group dynamics are so strong, and they're the lifelines in the community, and they're lifelines that will enable the older person to be the best version of themselves, because the information that they get from the program, from attending the program, the actual experience of the exercise, the benefits of the exercise, far outweigh, someone not exercising. It's more important for the older people. Well, it's not more important. It's essential. It's vital that the older person, regardless of what conditions they've got, and there are a few conditions that you can't, that it's really unsafe, that you cannot exercise, and the doctors won't allow you to do that, and we wouldn't allow that either. But it's about creating the awareness, the education, and the exercise environment. So back to you, Jackie. I've talked a bit.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. And yeah, there are some contacts there. And just a reminder to everyone with us today, we will be putting up all the information that we've talked about today on the webpage where we load the webinar up, and you'll be able to access that. But just a quick question. Yeah, is the Active Stronger Better program available outside of the Hunter? Not yet, is it, Lorraine? But maybe
Not
one
yet.
day.
No.
Yeah.
Not yet.
But there are plenty of
hope.
other programs that we know about. So it's probably always best to check in with us at COTA New South Wales, but also with New South Wales Health and with your local communities. But it's fabulous to see so much work and inspiration and passion, because you are obviously very passionate, Lorraine, and great to hear that you're using music and it's fun and it's got a social benefit.
Yes.
So we've got some questions coming in, but before we get to that, I'd like to welcome Alan, who's been with us from the start, listening very carefully. Hello, Alan.
Hey, hello.
Thank you so much for your time today. Now, you look like you're a pretty fit person, but you've been taking part in some of the Active Stronger Better classes. Tell us about that.
I do 2 classes a week, one of which is really for exercise and aerobic, and the other one, which I find really important, is for balance. And I've been doing that basically ever since COVID finished.
Fantastic. And have you always had exercise in your life, Alan?
Yes, I've always been active. I did a lot of swimming, but I was diagnosed with Parkinson's about 18 months ago. And it's affected my ability to do normal freestyle. So I still just swim, but only using my arms.
I understand. So you've adapted your exercise accordingly?
Yes.
Okay. Has doing the classes helped you with your strength, mobility and balance?
It definitely helped with the balance. I used to fall over putting my trousers on, but now I can do it on one leg.
That's great. That's great to hear. So what else do you get out of the classes? Is it just about the fitness?
Well, there's a friendship developing. There's certainly a social link. Sometimes we go for coffee afterwards. So there's very much a social component as well.
That's great. And what about your confidence? Are you more or less worried about maybe tripping over or having a fall?
I'm more aware of tripping over. I don't know about confidence. Because of the Parkinson's, when I go for a walk in the mornings, I have to tell myself, lift my feet. Okay,
so that's definitely something that you've taken from the classes and put into practice at home.
Yes, and Active Stronger Better's got a poster, so I've got that stuck up in the bedroom and I can follow the exercises between classes.
That's great. So some of what Lorraine and Stephen have both been talking about, you're also implementing at home. So
Absolutely.
Can you tell us about some of those things you're doing every day? Is it when you get up from the dinner table or?
No, it's when I get up, I tend to stand and wait because I do tend to have a low blood pressure. So that's one component. When I go for a walk in the mornings, I lift my feet and try and not shuffle. which is a side effect of Parkinson's. And I've got a couple of weights at home, and I use those to try and keep the muscle mass from going down too quickly. There are a few stretch exercises that I was taught at the classes. I put those into practice. So yes, it does carry through the week.
That's fantastic. Apologies for the background noise where I am. I'm in Sydney's inner west. I've got a few planes going over and I've got someone mowing the lawn quite actively, but at least they're getting some exercise, which is great. So Alan, what about the music? Do you like to exercise to music? Does that help?
Yes, I must apologise for any background noise here because there's an active Stronger Better class going on next door. Yes, the music is good. And the leader is really good in integrating the music and the activities. She makes it fun so that you don't feel you're exercising, whereas in fact you are. And she teaches us dance moves. So yeah, music is an essential component, I think.
And what would you say to others who might be joining us on the webinar? Does it make a difference and should they try to find a program like this?
Absolutely. I think that it helps with your balance. It helps with your retention of strength. I can't say what it would be like without it, but I certainly find the exercise a part of life.
Thank you so much, Stephen and Alan and Lorraine. It's been great talking to you. Now, we've got a few questions that have come through. So for Stephen, firstly, can appropriate exercise delay the need for osteoporosis medication? Our writer says doctors seem to want to prescribe based on age. Is that something you can talk to?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the individual circumstances. So with osteoporosis, from memory, from my experience at least, working in the clinics, if someone has had a fracture, even without having had like a DEXA scan, they can be considered to be osteoporotic. So that's one of the factors. And what we also found, or what's been found in research, is that a lot of fractures occur when people are osteopenic, so not quite meeting the criteria or the bone density requirements for osteoporosis, but they still can fracture their bones. So I guess it sort of depends. In terms of the exercise trials, they have been mixed results in terms of improving the bone health. So there have been some studies looking at heavy resistance training, power training, those sorts of things. Some studies show some changes in the bone mineral density, which is assessed by DEXA. Other studies, not so many changes.
Great, thank you. And we've got a comment also that U3A has a program, Balance and Bones, which is delivered via a DVD, which covers all these areas that we're talking about. So you could maybe check in with your local U3A office wherever you're located. Second question is probably one for Lorraine, I think. What are the top few practical things I can do to prevent falls?
Firstly, create a safe environment. Get rid of your mats, have clear walkways, have good lighting. Just check your shoes that they're not, like we wear our shoes and they become smooth or a little bit worn, so they become our knock-around shoes, and then they become the shoes that you spend most of your time. Have good shoes that are slip-proof, and then do lots of balance exercises. Like if you've got a lounge room, you've got a tandem stance walk, if you can, or a hallway in your house where you put one foot in front of the other, in front of the other, in front of, and that's a tandem stance. You're narrowing your base of support where you're standing. So you walk one foot closely in front of the other. Do it in a hallway so you can hang on to the wall if you need to. But each time that you go up and down the hallway, if you think of it, try and do that 10 times a day. Have a series of exercises that you do, such as sitting down, standing up, sitting down, standing up. Do 10 of those if you can, sitting down to your meals. Be aware of your posture and try and do some breathing exercises. So all of those. And I strongly recommend that you join an exercise group. They motivate you to join. Yes, that bones and balance is very good, but people sit in a chair and watch a video for half an hour or so. That's part of the stepping on program, that video. And joining a group, you get a set of exercises of a balance for balanced muscle groups. And they do flexibility, they do their stretching, they do their strength training, they might do cardiovascular, they do balance, they do coordination, they do brain fitness for your reaction time. So all of those things, just put them together. If you find that we've got to be motivated and disciplined, and maybe going to a class will help with that. But also, if you find that you don't want to do that, maybe find a buddy that you can actually exercise with, or will keep you motivated, and you'll motivate each other.
Fantastic. Now, I saw Ellen and I try and sit up nice and straight then when we talked about, when Lorraine was talking about posture. It's these constant daily little reminders.
Yes.
Yeah. And just a couple more questions about how Active Stronger Better is being rolled out just in the Hunter at the moment. But the advice is that you can look for classes in your local region. There's no dumb questions. Ask questions about what might work for you. If it's not a class setting, as Lorraine's advised, maybe get a buddy. And Stephen, a couple of ones back to you. We heard Lorraine talk about her bone density's gone up when she had her bone scan.
Mm-hmm.
So someone has asked us, how can I improve my bone density? It is possible to restore it?
Yes, so I guess it can be a combination of medications as well as nutrition. So ensuring that, for example, your vitamin D and calcium levels are adequate. And then if you have osteoporosis, if you're on osteoporosis medications, what they can do is stop the loss of bone, and some medications also act to improve the bone density. So, yeah.
Can I also add that there are specific exercises that can increase bone density? My groups are actually working on an osteoporosis prevention and program at the moment, where we do stamping and we do sort of stomping and stamping. So it depends, like osteoporosis is usually, it's all in all different areas of the body. And so it's really got to be tailored, an exercise program, but exercise can also improve bone density and reverse osteoporosis. But it's a combination of everything.
Yeah.
And looking at the medication as well, because there are some medications that cause osteoporosis and leach the bones, like corticosteroids. Is that right, Stephen? Yep. Corticosteroids?
Corticosteroids, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So look, we're getting a lot of questions about where you can find out information, and a really good place to check would be activeandhealthy.newsouthwales.gov.au. We will put these links up on the page when we get it built, and let you know if you've joined our webinar today, you'll be able to receive that. Someone's asking, is the Active Stronger Better posters available for downloading? Some of the posters that Stephen showed us earlier, we can also provide links through to those. Someone's also commented here, I was told bone density appears to increase particularly in the spinal region because your spine is compressing with age. That sounds fairly correct, is it, Stephen?
Yep. Yeah, that's right. So it can be a symptom of vertebral fractures as well. So
okay.
I guess, yeah, if you have broken bone and then it sort of compresses and appears as higher bone density in the DEXA scans.
Yeah, and that's where the correct posture always can help us later on, because if we've had a better posture, I assume our spine is less compressed before it is damaged any further.
Yeah.
Someone's also commented that daily snacking is what you're talking about with these types of exercises, and maybe that's a good way to think about it. Alan, are there times during the day when you talked about how you've put into practice what you're doing at home, but when you go to get your morning tea, do you do your snack exercises at the same time maybe?
No, I'm a bit disorganized. I just do it when I feel like it, and it turns like about 3 times a day.
Okay, well, that's a good reminder for some of us. Maybe some alarms on our phone could maybe help us to be a bit more active. I know people that wear Apple Watches get told to stand up and move around. Do you think things like this work, Stephen? Is that helpful?
Sorry, are you able to repeat?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
Question?
think you're getting a message at the same time. I'm just saying, I've noticed, is setting personal alarms or writing ourselves a note to get up and move around every 15 minutes if we don't have access to technology, are they good systems to put in place?
Yep. Yeah, they're effective. What's also effective is trying to incorporate exercise into your daily activities that you're doing. So, for example, if you're going to make a cup of tea or something like that, you can do some balance exercises. If you're watching TV during the commercial breaks, you could do some sitting to standing from the chair or sofa, those sorts of things.
Okay. Now, New South Wales Health, I'm being told, also has some online classes. So if you do have access to technology, you could try and have a look at that. We'll have a look at what else we can find out about for you. Someone's also saying, if I'm concerned about my bone density, what kind of scans or tests should I ask my GP for? Lorraine, you've just done this, so.
I asked my GP for a bone density test. And I think if you're over 70, I'm not sure that you can access that. If you're under 70, I think you pay for it. I'm not sure about that. But if you're over 70, and I think you can have it every 2 years. I don't know. But it was about 4 years since I had mine. And yeah, it's you just lie in there. It's very quick, very efficient, non-invasive. Yep.
Right. Thank you for that lived experience. I think it's obviously something that we all should be speaking to our medical professionals about right through our lives. And as we age and as many of us live longer, it's making sure that we are armed with the right information. So, yeah, I think the best place is probably to speak to your GP about it. And it's good to know that it's not something that hurts or that's invasive as well. I suppose, this sounds like it's very key. And as Lorraine and Stephen and Alan are telling us, it's the combination of all these factors: being active, eating well, exercising, getting the tests that we need, not being frightened to raise questions. As I say, I don't think there's any dumb questions. We need to ask as many questions as possible. Judith's just commented, have you mentioned sarcopenia? Yes, we did. We spoke about that early on, and Stephen's explained what that is for us. Quick reminder again, Stephen.
The loss of muscle mass, strength, and performance as you get older.
Yeah. So sarcopenia together with bone density, osteoporosis, these are some of those things, those words that we should know about because knowledge is power. So no problem at all. Judith says, sorry, I came in late, but it's good to it's good to use the correct words and to know what they mean. And often that can help us demystify the topic. Okay, well, look, I think at this point in time, I'm going to draw things to a close. I'm getting lots of comments thanking our presenters today. Thank you for sharing your experience and expertise. Thank you, our people on COTA Watch and COTA Conversations, for joining us. We're providing these conversations to help get information out, to empower people in New South Wales. If there are any topics that you think you'd like to see raised in the future, please let us know. If we didn't get to your question or there's something that you really want to know afterwards, you can get in touch via our phone or our email support service, and we'll try to do as best we can do. Our email address is info@cotanewsouthwales.com.au, and we will, of course, be able to provide that to you after today's session. You can find all the details about COTA on our website, which is cotanewsouthwales.com.au. In coming days, as I've said, this webinar will be available to view on the website together with information on the speakers and the programs. I hope you can join us again in May. Keep an eye out for our next webinar event. We're hoping we can fit a few more in this financial year. But as I said, we're here for you to make sure that the issues and questions and what's important to you is covered off. So thank you very much to all our panelists again. Bye for now. And thank you to our attendees today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.